Hello, Union Ridge. I am so grateful to have this opportunity to share learning together with you here today. here today. Um, Before we start, I want to first say thank you so much to Carrie for learning together with me over summer and sharing my work with your principal, Julie, who then reached out to me and then shared with your building leadership team. And we try to find a way to make this work. So we think we have found a way, and we are going to do a part one, which is our video right now. And then part two is a live Zoom session where I'm going to be connecting together with you later on today. And so we think we found a way to effectively clone and be in multiple spaces at once. So currently, I am in my district at this moment, where I am a climate and social emotional learning coach district-wide from pre-K to 8th grade. And then outside of the school day, I am so passionate about sharing wellness and mindfulness with everybody, but especially with kids and educators and leaders, because when we are well, we can teach and lead well. So that's really where we're going to be really focusing today, is about building resilience through well-being. So to create our space here, I'm going to offer these agreements. Even though this is a video, you are together and this is a special time of learning. So there are three I want to share. The first one is to be present and be open, thinking about things that I might be sharing, things you may know, things you may have experienced. So just continue to be open. Ask questions. Down at the bottom, you'll see that there's a link, and it's the www.thebutterflywithin.me/special access. I put a Padlet link near the top for you to add your questions. And my plan is to have a moment beforehand to take a look at the Padlet before our session in case questions come up. And then also see possibilities. We have a lot moving in and around us as we're preparing for this school year. So continue to see the possibilities. For our learning journey, as I said, we have a part one and a part two, but there are three things that I want you to walk away with. So the first one is being able to connect well-being and resilience for supporting your students and yourself. And you'll get to know me along the way, but I truly connect how our own strategies and what we experience for ourselves is how we best teach for our learners as well. So everything that I share here together with you, experience for you first, and then be empowered to share that with your students. Later today, we will do our other two focus areas, which will be exploring and practicing specific strategies that you can use in your classroom spaces or leadership spaces and team spaces. And then also being able to commit to embedding well-being into the heart of your classroom and your school. So before we start, let's go ahead and set an intention. So wherever you may be, if you choose to set the intention with me here, maybe you choose to sit back or maybe you choose to stand, but make yourself comfortable for just a moment. And if you choose, you can also write in a journal nearby if you prefer not to have a mindful moment at this time. And that's okay. You can always choose what works best for you. Settling in into this space, just knowing that you're here. Noting what maybe you're bringing at this moment and checking in with your body, breath, emotions, and thoughts, just what's fully present here. And then inviting with each breath as you breathe out, you're creating space for that intention for your learning here together, your why, and creating that purpose for this learning. And taking 3 breaths together, connecting our community no matter where we are here together with the breath. Taking a breath in and a breath out. 1, taking a breath in and a breath out. 2, 1 more breath in and a breath out. 3. Taking any other moment here for you as you connect to your intention. And as you're ready, if your eyes are closed, maybe opening them and looking around the space, bringing yourself fully back here. And I invite you, if you'd like to even write down your intention so you have it nearby, just to continue to have a reminder. So as we get started, I had written this poem actually over summer. I was just really inspired by the word resilience. This has been a word that just keeps coming up. And so I wrote this poem and like to share it with you to give us this common experience as well through words. It's called We Are Resilient. The brave moments of the past, present, and future. Then adversity. The spiral of uncertainty comes and goes. Each step seems to be adversity beneath your feet. Then you notice it becomes a dance with adversity, moving together and through, just as the butterfly moves within the wind. I am. Where once was fear and heaviness, now possibilities. I am resilient. Breathe in as you say to your heart, I am resilient. You are resilient. We are resilient. And that poem really came to me through this entire year of the adversity, but then creating this dance with it, which truly is that resiliency, right? It's when some challenge comes our way, how can we create a dance with it and move with it, right? And sharing that with our students and being that model for our students, how no matter what, we're here and we use each other as connection, right? And we build with each other. And maybe this is something that you want to even use in your classroom. Maybe this becomes a theme in your classroom this year. So you can get that download on the special access link as well. And moving into the stories, because especially from last year, often we don't take that time to validate everything that has happened over the past over a year, right? So this allows us this opportunity to target our resilience story, validate our resilience story, and then move with it. So this is a practice I like to call 3x3 thinking. There are 3 columns, and we're going to take 3 minutes for this practice. So I encourage you, if you have paper nearby, you can use your computer, but it might be best to write down because it's just a different experience when you have writing. And I want you to focus on, if you would like, on your experience last year. Okay, so everything, it can be specific about school, but it can also extend to anything throughout that year. But make sure there are components within school and that whole experience with teaching within a pandemic. Okay, so you're going to make 3 columns wherever you may be. And in a moment, I'm going to start our timer, and it will be 1 minute for each of the columns, and I will give us that notification of, okay, finish your last thought, move on to the next column. If you cannot think of something else in the column and the time is still going, stay in that column and just hold that space and see if anything else happens. Only move once it's time. And also, if you're trying to finish things or if you have a few more, it's okay. We're teaching ourselves that it's okay to pause there, let that be, and then move forward. You can always do this practice later on. I encourage you to do that, and also be thinking about how you can use this with your students, because they probably also may not have had this experience. Okay, so I'm going to set our timer here, and you're going to just start with celebrations, every kind of celebration you could think of, then challenges, and then considerations. Considerations meaning really anything that maybe you wanted to think about, or how you could have changed a thought process about it, or make it your own column with it. Okay, so let's give it a go. Only celebrations. Begin to finish your last thought here, and then begin to move into the challenges, focusing only on the challenges that you experienced. Begin to make your final thought for challenges. And now move into considerations. Focus only on considerations. And start making your last thought. And then go ahead and put your pens and pencils down. And just take a moment to look and read through each of those different columns for a moment, and then just letting that be, letting that opportunity to validate everything that happened. So there are two practices here, and for timing, I'm only going to have us do one version of it. So as you're reading each of these things that you've written down in your mind, just say like, thank you, I validate you. Thank you, I validate you. So basically it's like you're thanking that experience. No matter how tricky that experience is, we've still learned something and gained something from it, the experience. The other practice that is available is called the 3x3 thinking mindful moment. And so you also have access to this on the downloadable. What I might do, because we haven't done it together, is do a recording of this particular practice as well, but it's a script. And you can take this time in your classroom, and I think I will add a video on the website just so you can have a reference tool on how to lead a mindful moment. But later for part 2, you'll also get another opportunity for this particular structure. But know that this is there as a tool. So just jot down in your journal just how maybe you can feel or how you can picture using this with you, with your students, with your team. Like if something major happens or a change or something small that happens, think about how you might use it. And perhaps you can pause this video and do a turn and talk. But again, for timing, I'm going to continue moving forward here. So why well-being? Maybe you think about well-being and you notice just the reason behind it might be all of the different data sources that are pointing to the impact on mental health. We have anxiety and depression and ADHD, meaning more of the self-management, self-control, and regulation within. So those numbers continue to rise. The rates of suicide continue to rise. In the notes section of the PowerPoint of the slide deck, I linked even the most recent one for adolescent girls from March, which is astronomical. So there are just so many layers here that give us a reason why we need to have wellness and education on top of a pandemic and trauma and all those other layers. Maybe you think about the impact it has on you as an educator. This was one of the studies that CDC had shared, and there was twice as likely for stress in the teaching and helping fields. We have 3 times more likely for depressive symptoms. And for CDC, they were sharing how 27% of teachers were reporting the depressive symptoms, and 37 were reporting it being consistent with anxiety. So just knowing, one, if you might be resonating with this slide, knowing you're not alone in this, right? And for those of us who may have connected with another part or piece, know that others are experiencing different layers. But some of you may also be thinking about the amazing research that is showing how when we involve and how we integrate and how we embed wellness into our schools, into the heart of education, the impact on teachers and teacher well-being and the impact on students and student well-being. You can read here like the positive, amazing implications that this has. Like, again, when we can lead and teach well, that trickles down to the students. But for my why here, and what I hope you take with you as well for this part 1, is that when well-being and mindfulness are at the foundation, then we can move into, with the connected social and emotional learning, how we can teach and share those explicitly taught skills with ourselves and with students. And when that happens, we then can move into having those spaces for social justice and equity work. We know where our well-being is in this space. We understand where others are coming from. And so we can truly make this change in the world. And then from that, moving into that resilience, and from everything that we've been experiencing over time, most recently, we've really been moving through these layers, and the importance of them continues to escalate in a good way. And then finally, on that side here, resilience is truly like a heart-based shield. This is what I like to think of this as, because when we're resilient, it's like we are putting up the shield of protection, yet our hearts are open and we can hold that space for our learners, for our families, for our teammates. We're brave, yet compassionate. We're ready for action, yet mindful with the response that we do, and so much more. And ultimately, in my mind and in your mind, I hope that understanding that we need resilience so that children can discover their inner butterfly and not be afraid of their wings, right? With no matter what comes at them, like the journey of the butterfly is so inspiring, right? And how from a caterpillar all the way to that butterfly and then that chrysalis stage, it is just, if we can embrace that and have that as our lens and know that our wings are going to help carry us along the way, like that is just such a powerful message. And maybe that's a theme in your classroom. Maybe you have butterfly reminders of, you know what, change happens and that's okay. Fun fact, and I'll share again with you at part 2, like I wrote a whole children's book about change and through the lens of a butterfly. And the fun fact is that we really are all children too, right? Like we need to be empowered by our own wings as well. And so the last couple moments here, I want to share just to plant a couple seeds. One for the consideration for this school year. Know that not everyone experiences events the same way. And my analogy here is the roller coaster. If you just look at their images, right? You have everybody's on the roller coaster. They all are having this similar experience, but their internal experience and external experience is very different. you have fear, you have excitement, you have just going with the flow, all within this same event. And that goes for all and any events that we have. But my caveat here, which is where the wellness comes into play, is that sometimes we show and maybe not validate those experiences, and it shows up later on, and that's where more of like the wellness side comes in. And my yoga teacher side comes in that space. But just keeping that in mind, that our bodies store, and we'll share that in part 2. I also listed a couple of things that when you have a moment today, just take a look. These are some things just to think about as your students are coming back and parents are coming back, staff are coming back. There are just things to think about and how we can approach. And if we approach everybody with a trauma-informed lens, with that mindful and that well-being, with our wings around everybody, then we're able to continue to move forward with resilience. And then finally, for our part 1 here, from those different considerations, there's one more tool just to be aware of. And if you want to explore this deeper, let me know. And I can also connect with you if there's something more specific with this tool. But there's something called a challenge spiral that I kind of connected the process of change and also the stages of grief, but then also realizing that there's more to this with more of the challenges that come our way for resilience. And so these are 7 steps, but it's really a spiral because it can happen at any moment, anywhere. Just how we take in information and show information. And so just keeping these stages in mind as students are coming back, like if you're noticing behaviors that may be a little bit different. And these outline each of those different stages. So I encourage you, once you pause and close this video, to take a moment. Take 2 is what I like to call them. And maybe this is a strategy too in your classroom of just pausing to take 2. Take 2 minutes to reflect on the Padlet. There are 2 questions here. The first one, it says part 1 takeaways. So from even just this short 20 minutes, what are some things that you're taking away? What are some things that you might have questions on? And I just wanted to close again with this quote here up on the screen, just to continue to keep that in your heart as we move into part 2 later on today. So again, thank you all so much. I look forward to actually connecting with you and seeing you on the computer. So take care for now and enjoy your learning.